welcome back to TNN's coverage of the world's 9 best fantasy football players league. I'm your host, and this is what we have for you this week. TNN came back last week with a thundering return, and week 4 was one for the history books. This week, there's no Timmy Skinny for the recap, but I do have a special message from Commissioner Tooch to pass along. From the Commissioner, please send me your buy-in for $50 ASAP. I am ready to name names. This includes Nooch, Brett, Grayson, Will, Vanek, and Joe. Nearly half the league has still not given the buy-in. And thank you, Commissioner Tooch, for that great message. I hope that you can get those problems resolved ASAP. And now, here is Danny Football with his picks for week 5. Hey, what's up, guys? The world's 9 best fantasy football players expert, Danny Football here, back with another week of expert predictions. Last week was pretty good for me, going 4-2, bringing my total on the year up to a very nice 13-5. My guest, Visconti, unfortunately also had a very good week, going 5-1, being the first guest of the year to beat the expert at securing himself a spot back here in the playoffs. But now, it's a new week, there's a new guest, and a new chance to beat the expert. So guest, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, Danny Football, thanks for having me. Always, truly a pleasure to be on the show, to be spending this time with you, to talk about our league and like what's been happening in the world. It is truly the highlight of my year being on this show. For those of you that don't know, new to the show, new fans, I know we've always got new subscribers and new viewers. My name's Cubby. I'm the owner and GM of historic franchise Blood, Sweat, and Beers, a team that's been close to the mountaintop a couple times. Never reached that summit. Some are saying this is not our year. Some are saying this is our year. It's anybody's game, you know. It ain't over till the fat lady sings, and I'm not hearing any opera going on. So I'm still chugging along, and I'm ready, and I'm really excited to talk to you about these games this week.
Yeah, Jacob, great to have you back. I always know fan favorite guests here, and I got to say I am really happy to see the extensive notes you have going on behind you there on the whiteboard. I know we are in for some great expert analysis today.
Oh yeah, definitely. I am intimately familiar with the microbiota of every player of every team, and I'm ready to prescribe the correct antibiotics for any team's maladies.
All right, first up, we have the SWAT team taking on Worthy of Love. SWAT favored in this one at 67%. This is one new week, same story. We have one of the best teams in the league going up against one of the worst teams in the league. I really don't want to spend too much time on this matchup because there's really not too much to say. And honestly, I had to beg the producers not to just copy and paste over my notes from last week when Worthy of Love played the Bandits. SWAT looks like they're in a pretty good spot, although last week was a little rough. I think this team's still really solid. Worthy of Love still a ways away from being one of the top teams in this league. If Worthy of Love wins, I will be genuinely shocked. So I'm going to go with the Bandits. Wait, hold on. The SWAT team in this one.
Yeah, it's a great pick, Danny Football. You know, their name is worthy of love, but this is a team only a mother could love. Let me tell you, this does not look like a good team. I mean, projected sub 150
Yeah.
in this era, in the modern era of the
In
world's
this
9 best
economy.
fantasy football players, when we're starting this many players, that is a tough look. That is a tough look. It pains me to be picking a team that is starting Caleb Williams at quarterback. Clearly should have gone number 2 after Jaden Daniels. I mean, are you seeing the stuff that guy's putting out on the field? Uh, that being said, as much as I hate picking the commissioner, I know we have, he's not exactly the fan favorite of this league, but against this team in this week, it's hard for me to pick against them. So I'm going with the SWAT team.
You hate him, but you gotta
You
respect.
got to respect it.
Next up, we have too many conks taking on undefeated, never lost. Undefeated, never lost, currently favored at 54%. Jacob, who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, undefeated, never lost. Similar story as always. Somehow always manages to lose despite their name. We'll see if they ever end up changing that. Unlikely. Too many conks. They've had a disappointing season. I actually expected a lot more from them. One and
Mhm.
three, quarter of the way through the season is it's a tough look, to be honest. They're starting Jalen Waddle still, and I might be starting for quarterback for the Dolphins on Monday or on Sunday. So not so sure how that's going to play out for them. I don't love either one of these teams. I want to be very clear. I, I may be done chaining both of these teams right now. Uh, but as much as I hate to say it, I think I'm going to give this one not to Miguel. I'm going to give this one to Danny and Schmitz, and I'm going to have undefeated, never lost taking this stone.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick here. This is a real statement game for both of these teams. One of the oldest rivalries
Oh
in the
yeah.
league, going all the way back to the inaugural season. So it really just means more when these two teams see each other on the schedule, and it's a matchup they've got circled in the preseason. Time to show up for this game. Undefeated, never lost. They are sitting at 2-2, and they're gonna have a chance to go above 500 for what is likely the latest ever point in a season for them. So, truly historic things happening for this franchise. Too Many Conks has had just an atrocious start to the year with so many other guys getting injured. They've got Cooper Kupp, Micah Parsons, Joe Mixon, and of course, Brandon Cooks. Saquon is basically their only good player left at this point, and even he is not going to be playing this week because of the bye. I think Joe is probably very seriously going to need to think about blowing it up and trying to go into a rebuild after this because I am also going to be picking undefeated, never lost to come out with the win in this one.
Always a good time to have the Brandon Cooks Bowl, midway through the season. See
Who
how the
knows?
teams are faring.
He might get traded after this. If Joe loses,
End of
could
an
be
era.
time.
The end of
Yeah.
an era.
Next up, we have Ham and Throw taking on the mental Brick Walls. Brick Walls currently favored at 53%. I know that Ham and Throw is likely coming into this one pretty high after their close win over Team Vanek last week, but I would like to point out that they are still only 2-2 and would be going up against Blood, Sweat, and Beers in the first round of the playoffs if the season were to end today. So it just goes to show Ham and Throw should not be feeling too confident in their position because a lot can change. And I expect a lot will change over the course of the rest of the season. For the Brick Walls, they are the only remaining undefeated team and have had a pretty decent year so far, I'll be honest. They're the third highest scoring team in the league. I think it's a little bit of an overperformance from the Brick Walls. I expect them to probably come down a little bit. I'd be very shocked if this team was able to run the table and go undefeated. This team has a lot of playmakers. Just look at their roster. A lot of playmakers, a lot of big names. And I just get a very, very bad feeling in the air whenever I think of this Ham and Throw team. All of the loyal fans know that this is a team I have hated all year, all of last year, all of the year before. So I'm going to go with the Brick Walls in this one.
It's a great pick, Danny Football, and I agree. It's I'm definitely picking the brick wall. I'm definitely picking the brick walls to win this matchup. I don't love the idea of that's me putting my claim on them going 5-0 to start the season. But when you've got a matchup like this against Ham and Throw, it's bound to happen.
It's a
Totally
pick
agree.
against Ham and Throw, not a pick for the Brick Walls.
Exactly. I do think the brick walls will regress. I see that coming next week. So I don't see them going to 6-0, but I think they've got this one for 5-0. Really, when you look up and down that roster, you're not wrong. There are playmakers at every position. Of course, not a great quarterback roster
Not the
for the
quarterback
brick
position.
walls, not the quarterback position. Some are saying, the most important position, but it is the first on the list.
Some were saying
Uh,
they could have had Jaden Daniels in the draft.
They could, and of course, who are they playing this week? Hammond Throw, who has Jaden Daniels. Um, I see the brick walls making a splash for a quarterback some point this season because they have a team like you said third most overall points. Uh, they have a team that can go the distance this year,
Mhm.
and I would hate to see that fall apart because of misplay at the quarterback position. So be on the lookout for that for the brick walls to make a splashy trade. But this week, I think it's enough. I don't think they need that trade this week. So they should be good. I'm picking them to beat Hamthrow.
Next up, we have Blood, Sweat, and Beers taking on Team Big Chungus 22. Blood, Sweat, and Beers favored at 58%. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this is the Navy Notre Dame rivalry. It's not a rivalry, but these teams love each other. These are two teams constantly in trade discussions, constantly, picking each other up and supporting each other's actions in the group chat. This is truly one of those best rivalries that you're there to root for both teams.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, Big Chungus, he made that big swing at the end of last season. I was shocked that he missed the playoffs. I mean, when you looked at that roster last year, like it took an act of God for him to not make the playoffs. And unfortunately, that smite has continued this season. Another 0-4 start. I I'm not super high on blood, sweat, and beers. To be completely honest, on my own team, I understand where we are in our rebuild process. I think we're further ahead than other people may have expected. I mean, high scoring points a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, 2-2 start. This is a frisky playoff team from Blood, Sweat, and Beers. Are we going the
Marvin
distance
Harrison
this
looks
year?
good. He looks
Marvin
good.
Harrison looks great. Are we going the distance this year? Probably not. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun. Unfortunately for Big Chungus, doesn't look like last year's trades are playing off this year. Not looking good in the draft haul. I'm going with Blood, Sweat, and Beers to win this one.
Yeah, this is a matchup I think is actually very intriguing. Big Chungus is the only team in the league not to pick up a win through 4 weeks. Really just rough shape. I think that their team is genuinely atrocious. Like if you look at this team, if I had a team in this league, it would pain me to think about having to start Pop Douglas and Miles Sanders in my flex spot in the year of our Lord 2024. And that is the current state of team Big Chungus 22. I think they need to move off of guys like Mike Evans, Tyreek, Alvin Kamara, ASAP. This is a team that just it's not going well. They need the draft picks. It's really time to blow it up. And for Blood, Sweat, and Beers, this is a team that should be tanking, in my professional opinion. And they seem to be a little confused about that. They have the lowest max points for by far in the league. That is good enough to secure the number one overall pick in next year's draft with a lot of really good pieces that they could add to this team. But this team is currently 2-2 and sitting in the last spot in the playoffs if the season ended today. I've never seen a team with so much heart that just refuses to lose. You have to applaud Blood, Sweat, and Beers for that. I mean, nothing but props to them and the ownership. But with that being said, I think ownership reins them in this week. They know they need that number one overall pick. And I'm going to go with Big Chungus to pick up the win. Their first win in this one, not really by their own doing, but of the doing of Blood, Sweat, and Beers. Hopefully getting on the right page with the tank.
So something to think about, Danny Football, is Blood, Sweat, and Beers does own the first over for the it does own the first round pick of Team Big Chungus this year. So it's potential that a win here still helps us in the securing the first overall pick of the draft. But I understand your opinions.
Moving on, we have Team M Vanek taking on Jesus Christ. It's Jay Sanborn. Team M Vanek currently favored at 68%. Huge favorites in this one. Both of these teams currently sitting at 2-2, and a win is going to go a long way for both of them to really solidify their playoff chances. For Jay Sanborn, I think they're a bit premature, a little bit early on their competitive window here. they have a couple pieces. They've had a solid start, but I really just don't see where the entire roster comes through to really make a serious run this year. I think they're probably at least another year away. Obviously, they have Neighbors. He's really good, really panned out for them. But Mark Andrews has taken a real fall off a cliff, has been completely worthless. Jonathan Mingo never panned out for this team after their big trade for him. Blake Corum has been another person who has done absolutely nothing. I just really don't see it for this Jay Sanborn team. Team M Vanek, on the other hand, I think they have some actual star power. They're the big favorites to win in this one, even with them not setting their lineup and having two guys that are not playing this week at the time of filming. And for that reason, parentheses, assuming Mike Vanek actually sets his lineup this week, I'm going to pick Team M Vanek to get the win in this one.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, Danny Football. And I hate to pick a team that does bench a 35 point QB performance from Kirk Cousins, but
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that Jesus Christ, it's Jason Sanborn. Jay Sanborn has enough star power or firepower, like you were saying. Obviously, no Malik Neighbors. Maybe if he was playing, that'd be a different story. I know they have a couple guys on bye. They've been an injury bitten team for sure. They're filling up those injury spots. I'm sure I can already hear Mike Visconti in the chat asking for more IR spots as we have this discussion. Um, but you look at the Vanek roster, you just think about what Derrick Henry is going to do to that Cincinnati Bengals defense
Yeah.
on Sunday, and even with Bijan Robinson not maybe being the guy we thought that he was, at least so far, he's they're putting up enough points. They've got big faith in the Atlanta Falcons offense for M Vanek, and they showed out this week. Great performance from Drake London and Young Hoku.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that we have some dedicated members of this league who would encourage Team M Vanek to start some people that are actually planning on playing. But again, I'm actually going to go a step further than you. Even without those two starting, I still think Team M Vanek pulls out the win.
Look, I know that Team M Vanek is going to be watching TNN Sunday morning, so I have full faith that they're going to see this, immediately pause the video, and go and set their lineup. So nothing to worry about on that front. Finally, in our marquee matchup of the week, we have the Tex Arcana Bandits taking on the Judon Noodles. Noodles currently favored at 59%. Who do you like here?
Yeah, this is great pick for the marquee matchup, Danny Football. This is one that we've had circles for a while. Judon
Mm-hmm.
Noodles, I'm sure they're not happy about being 2-2. They see themselves as a premier force in this league. And the Bandits, I know you're high on the Bandits. I know that
A
you've
loyal
got
fan of the
strong
show.
opinions. Loyal fan of the show. I'm not on the train. I think at one point I was on the train. I think I've taken myself off the train, but I respect people who are still on the train. That game on Thursday was great for the Judon Noodles. They got some good
Mm-hmm.
points on their defense. They look good. Jordan Mason, who knew? That's what it was going to be. Whatever
It
guy
only
is
took
starting at
three
running back.
years sitting
Only
on
took
the
three
roster for him
years.
to pay off.
But that's the long-term thinking that you love to see from your dynasty roster
Mm-hmm.
management. Between these two, I think it's going to come down to the wire for sure. But I have the Judon Noodles picking up the win here and evening the record between these two premier forces in our league.
Yeah, I like that analysis there. These are two teams that definitely have big reputations. Two teams that are really trying to go out there and compete. But the Noodles have really been struggling this year. Some may even be wondering why this is the marquee matchup, given how much they've been struggling this year. Well, the answer to that question is this game comes during the Eagles' bye week. So the Bandits have to come back down to earth and give the Noodles a bit of a chance in this matchup. Look, fans of the show will know that I am high on the Bandits, and they have been no stranger to the marquee matchup this year, with this being their third appearance already. They have great success in these big games, and This team really just knows how to get things done. But even I can admit that this may be a tough week for them with essentially half of their offensive players on a bye this week. Luckily for them, they're going up against a very depleted Noodles team. Some may not realize this, but if the season were to end today, the Noodles would hold the number one overall pick in the draft. Let's just sit there and think about this.
Wow.
The Noodles, a team that has playoff championship aspirations, even, they're sitting there with the lowest max points for after 4 weeks. And you can, of course, blame the Christian McCaffrey injury. Yeah, I mean, of course, that's going to make an effect on any team. But this has been a bad team this year with a very low ceiling. I mean, even without Christian McCaffrey, if you're a team that's trying to make a championship run, you should at least have more max points for than teams like Team Big Chungus 22, Worthy of Love, Blood, Sweat, and Beers. These teams that people did not have high hopes for this year. If your team is so fragile, so shallow, that even losing one player is going to cause you to plummet all the way down to the depths of this league, you're just not a championship team. And the Noodles are just not a championship team. I think they are very seriously going to need to think which way they want this year to go, and very quickly. They've got a couple pieces they could maybe get something back for if they were to try to trade some, but I think the Bandits are going to make this decision a lot easier for them this week, and I'm going to go with the Bandits to pick up a win in this one.
It's a great analysis there. I had not realized that they were so low in their max points for. That's a tough look for Timmy.
It really makes you question the decisions from management over there. I
It
mean, this is a
does.
team, high expectations. Someone might need to get fired.
This is definitely could be a make or break for their season right now. This is the most important game of this. This is it's playoffs or bust for now. Like they gotta
Mhm.
make some big changes.
Well, Jacob, thank you so much for being on with me this week. I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your picks. Of course, not as good as me, can't beat the expert, but it's always great having you on to hear your expert analysis. And from one expert to another, I do always appreciate your insights into the league.
Thank you, Danny Football. It's always a pleasure being here, being on the show, being part of this. Um, Always wonderful to hear your thoughts. So detailed, so much analysis, so much care put into it, which allows me to segue to one shout out that I have to give to someone that I greatly respect, and someone else who's also, I guess, in our league, Commissioner Tooch and Mike Visconti. Not a pairing you usually associate together, except when
That's
you're looking at
true.
the two horns of the devil. Uh, but I have to give a shout out. I mean, I didn't realize, how much like being back in school took out of people. So cannot give enough credit to Commissioner Tooch and to you, Day Football, for all the work that you do put in the show together, and still grinding through school and being active, because I know I have not been very active in the chats or in the league apart from setting my roster and watching TNN. Um, and reluctantly must also give props to Mike Visconti for his continuous yapping in the chat in the face of all adversity and all the work that he has to be done. So congratulations and thank you to both of you for your work.
And thank you, Danny Football and guest Jacob, for those great picks. That's all we have for you this time. Be sure to tune in next week to see how things shook out. I'm your host, and this has been TNN.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell.